The news hit Miami like a thunderclap, an event so shocking, it seemed almost unreal. In a city used to hurricanes and headlines, this was something different, something that sent a chill down every spine. Just off the coast, authorities had intercepted what could only be described as an armored cocaine ship, an illicit vessel built for war, not just for smuggling. Headlines blared across every screen and newspaper. Navy battles armored cocaine ship off Miami. The city was gripped by the drama as reports poured in. Over 1,000 rounds fired in a dramatic ocean showdown that played out just miles from the city's golden beaches. But this wasn't your typical smuggling boat. This was a 380-foot military-grade fortress, bristling with armor and technology, brazenly challenging U.S. sovereignty in broad daylight. Its size and firepower dwarfed anything law enforcement had seen before. The vessel operated in total electronic silence, running dark and silent, slipping through some of the world's most heavily monitored waters. It was a ghost on the radar, invisible to most, and nearly impossible to track. The scale of the operation was staggering, a cartel effort with military-level planning, resources, and audacity never before witnessed. Armed guards patrolled the decks as tons of illicit cargo were loaded with chilling efficiency. The USS Gravely, a state-of-the-art Navy destroyer, was dispatched to intercept. What followed was a fierce but ultimately one-sided battle, as the destroyer unleashed its full might against the armored ship. The cocaine ship's heavy armor, designed to withstand small arms and even some explosives, was no match for the advanced weaponry of the U.S. Navy. Shells tore through the hull, disabling the engines and bringing the vessel to a halt. Investigators quickly traced the ship's origin back to Venezuela, raising the specter of state-sponsored narco-terrorism. The implications were chilling. Was this just the beginning of a new, more dangerous era of drug smuggling? For Miami, the battle was more than just a news story. It was a chilling reminder of the dangerous forces lurking just offshore, and a wake-up call that the city's proximity to the Caribbean made it a front line in a new kind of war. The ghost ship, battered and abandoned, drifted as a stark symbol of the escalating conflict. Its message was clear: the war on drugs had entered a terrifying new era, one where cartels wielded military power and nations were forced to respond. As the sun rose over the Atlantic and the smoke began to clear, the world watched and waited for answers. What would come next? Would this be the first of many such battles? One thing was certain: the stakes had never been higher, and the eyes of the world were now fixed on Miami's doorstep. The vessel was a monster, 380 feet long, disguised as a rusted freighter but armored like a warship. Beneath its fake exterior, thick steel plating shielded the hull, bridge, and engine room, ready to deflect heavy fire. It flew no flag, broadcast no signal, and moved like a phantom through busy shipping lanes. Inside, over 25 tons of cocaine were packed for rapid offloading, enough to overwhelm law enforcement. The cartel had evolved. This was no longer about stealth, but brute force and logistics. The ship was a floating bank vault, a mobile distribution hub, and a direct challenge to U.S. power. Its capture would cripple a cartel's empire and send a message across the criminal underworld. This was the cartel's crown jewel, now in the Navy's crosshairs. Before dawn broke over the horizon, the USS Gravely cut through the dark waters of the Florida Straits, her hull slicing silently through gentle waves. The air was thick with anticipation, the sky painted in deep blues and purples as the first hints of sunlight crept in aboard. Pun intended, this was a routine patrol. But every sailor aboard knew that the seas could change in an instant. Its crew, a mix of seasoned veterans and sharp new recruits, stood vigilant at their stations. Eyes scanned the endless horizon, binoculars raised, every sense alert for the slightest anomaly. The Gravely's reputation for discipline and readiness was well earned, and tonight, that vigilance would be tested. Captain Eva Rostova, a seasoned officer with years of experience in high-stakes operations, trusted both her instincts and the advanced technology at her fingertips. She moved with quiet confidence across the bridge, her presence a steadying force for the crew. Under her command, the Gravely was more than a ship. It was a shield, a spear, and a home. Suddenly, a faint, unidentified radar contact appeared on the screens. A large vessel, moving steadily but eerily silent on all electronic channels. No transponder, no radio chatter, just a ghostly blip gliding through restricted waters. For a vessel of that size to be dark so close to the U.S. coastline was a major red flag. The intelligence officer's brow furrowed as he double-checked the readings, exchanging uneasy glances with his colleagues. Something wasn't right. The contact was on a direct course for Miami, ignoring established shipping lanes and protocols. Its path was deliberate, almost brazen, as if daring the Navy to respond. Captain Rostova wasted no time. She ordered increased surveillance, activating every sensor and camera, and initiated a full threat assessment. The crew snapped into action. Protocols drilled into muscle memory, now guiding their every move. The routine patrol was now anything but. The ship's corridors buzzed with urgency, the Combat Information Center tense as sailors prepared for whatever might come next. The Gravely was now on the hunt. The crew felt the shift instantly, a collective tightening of nerves, a sense that something big, something dangerous, was heading their way. Every heartbeat seemed to echo the rising tension. The USS Gravely's sophisticated sensors locked onto the mysterious vessel, tracking its every move with precision. The ghost ship was now under constant surveillance, its secrets slowly unraveling under the Navy's watchful eye. The destroyer's crew readied for confrontation, weapon systems primed, and battle stations manned. Every sailor knew what was at stake. Failure was not an option. The hunt for the narco-dreadnought had begun in earnest. The Gravely surged forward, engines roaring as the crew prepared to intercept and uncover the truth behind the shadowy contact. The stakes had never been higher. For the crew of the USS Gravely, this was more than a mission. It was a test of courage, skill, and resolve on the high seas. Captain Rostova needed eyes on the target. A P-8 Poseidon patrol aircraft swept in, its sensors revealing the ship's secrets. High-res cameras showed a freighter with suspicious modifications and reinforced hull seams. Thermal imaging confirmed layers of armor welded to the structure. The P-8's sensors detected dense organic material, cocaine, packed in the holds. The ship was unflagged, unmarked, and its bridge windows were reinforced for battle. With this evidence, Rostova alerted every agency, Navy, Coast Guard, Homeland Security. The region went on high alert. The ghost ship was now a declared threat, and the U.S. response was mobilizing. The stage was set for a confrontation at sea. As dawn broke, the USS Gravely closed in on the narco ship. Standard procedure: intercept, hail, and order the vessel to stop. Calls went out in English and Spanish. Silence. The narco ship ignored radio, signal lamp, and horn warnings, pushing its engines to the limit. It tried to outrun the destroyer, gambling on reaching the coast. Rostova's window to act was closing. The ship was less than 50 miles from Florida. Firing so close to civilian waters was risky, but the threat was clear. Final warnings were issued: stop or be fired upon. The only reply was the roar of the narco ship's engines. The chase was over. Confrontation was now inevitable. The destroyer prepared for battle. The world watched as the high-stakes standoff reached its climax. The next move would decide everything. The narco ship refused to stop, barreling toward the coast with a fortune in drugs. Captain Rostova faced a grave choice: let it go or use force. Boarding was too dangerous. Armor and hostile intent made it a suicide mission. The only option: disable the ship from a safe distance. Rostova gave the order: general quarters, all hands to battle stations. The USS Gravely shifted to full combat readiness. The goal: breach the armor, flood the holds, and force the ship to stop. The decision was clear, the risk calculated. The destroyer's main gun was locked and loaded. The time for warnings was over. The U.S. Navy would act, precision, power, and doctrine on full display. The battle for the Atlantic was about to begin. The Gravely's 5-inch gun swiveled, targeting the fleeing narco ship. The first shell slammed into the hull, a warning shot that proved the armor was real. The gunnery officer ordered a sustained barrage, mixing high-explosive and armor-piercing rounds. Shell after shell hammered the same spot, sparks and steel flying. The narco ship's armor finally gave way. A shell punched through, flooding the forward hold. The vessel listed, slowed, and began to lose power. The destroyer kept its distance, out of range of any return fire. The relentless bombardment had worked. The floating fortress was crippled. The cartel's investment was sinking fast. The U.S. Navy's firepower had shattered the cartel's bravado. The tide of battle had turned. The narco ship was mortally wounded. The narco ship, still afloat, tried to regain control. Captain Rostova ordered the failing CIWS to target the bridge and upper decks. The Gatling gun unleashed a torrent of tungsten rounds, shredding the ship's command center. Antennas and control systems were obliterated. The crew's will to fight collapsed. The CIWS raked the decks, suppressing any resistance. The destroyer's main gun finished the job, blasting the engine room. Black smoke billowed. The engines died. The narco ship was dead in the water, listing and burning. The battle was over. Total victory for the U.S. Navy. In the aftermath of the battle, the once mighty narco ship slipped beneath the waves, its hull torn open and its illicit cargo spilling into the cold, unforgiving Atlantic. The ocean swallowed not just the cocaine, but the hopes and ambitions of a criminal empire that had dared to challenge the world's most powerful navy. The wreckage, still smoldering, marked the end of a brazen chapter in the history of drug smuggling. Within hours, the U.S. Coast Guard arrived on the scene, braving treacherous waters to secure survivors from the chaos. Their swift response not only saved lives, but also allowed authorities to gather crucial intelligence from the shaken crew. Every rescued operative became a potential source of information, a thread that could unravel the cartel's wider network. The cartel's losses were catastrophic. Gone was a multi-million-dollar armored ship, along with 25 tons of high-grade cocaine destined for the streets. Even more devastating, several key operatives were captured alive, their secrets now in the hands of law enforcement. The blow to the cartel's finances and reputation was immediate and severe. Remarkably, the U.S. suffered 0 casualties. The professionalism and overwhelming force of the Navy left the cartel's empire in ruins, sending a clear message to criminal organizations everywhere. The era of impunity was over. Evidence uncovered from the wreckage pointed to Venezuelan involvement, triggering diplomatic shockwaves across the region. The U.S. government responded swiftly, imposing new sanctions and rallying international support to isolate those complicit in the trafficking operation. The world watched in awe as the scale and audacity of the operation became clear. Criminal organizations had escalated their tactics, deploying armored ships and military-grade technology. But the military response was just as fierce, signaling a new era in the fight against transnational crime. The war on drugs had changed forever. What was once a shadowy struggle now erupted into open warfare on the high seas, with warships and gunfire replacing stealth and secrecy. Navies around the world took notice. The incident served as a wake-up call. Future interdictions would demand not just vigilance, but full combat readiness. International cooperation intensified, with joint exercises and intelligence sharing becoming the new norm. For the cartels, the message was brutal and unmistakable. Direct confrontation with the U.S. military was nothing short of suicide. Surrender or destruction were now the only options when faced with overwhelming naval power. The sinking of the armored cocaine ship didn't just mark a tactical victory, it redefined the very front lines of the global drug war. The stakes had never been higher and the risks for traffickers had never been greater. The U.S. Navy had drawn a line in the water, making it clear that the world's oceans would no longer be safe havens for criminal enterprises. The era of narco-dreadnoughts, massive weaponized smuggling ships, was over before it truly began. The dream of dominating the seas with armored vessels had been shattered in a single decisive battle. For now, the Atlantic was safe. The waters, once threatened by shadowy empires, were calm again, at least until the next challenge emerged on the horizon.